This eclipse season has a different edge to it than what we've seen for a while. Why? Let's dive right in. Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing great and you're keeping well. So a big welcome back if you're returning, and welcome if you're new here. My name is Lisa. I'm a psychotherapist and an astrologer, and for anyone who's interested, I do tropical Western astrology. So I hope you've all harnessed the energy of this new moon that we've just had this weekend in Pisces, and it was a powerful new moon. In fact, it's the most powerful new moon that we are having this year, and it's also, at the end of the astrological year as well, so it's like a wrapping up, but it's definitely been probably quite an emotionally intense time, and bringing things up that we need to release as well. And that's because it's the gateway to this eclipse. So we are now entering eclipse season officially this week. We tend to feel the energies roughly around 2 weeks either side, but this new moon was definitely a portal that was taking us to this eclipse and preparing us. Now, this eclipse is happening, it's a lunar eclipse, and it's at the 5 degree of Libra. So for anyone who doesn't know too much about eclipses, so with a lunar eclipse, it's when the earth is in between the sun and the moon, and so it gets eclipsed out, right? When it's a solar eclipse, it's when the moon and the sun are together, and it's the moon will be passing over the sun, eclipsing Earth. So that's why you get the ring, you can see the ring of the sun because the moon's there, and everything goes dark, right? Now, with a lunar eclipse, a lunar eclipse is, basically full moons on steroids, right? So it's a time where it's more internal. It's going to bring up more things that are going on for us emotionally. And that's what the moon rules. It's about our emotions, our emotional world, our internal world, our more subjective view of what's going on. And the solar eclipse is more external, is what's happening outside of us. And so one thing that's different about this eclipse season is every 2 to 3 years, we tend to have, what we have had over the last few years, is we've always had the solar eclipse first, and then we've had the lunar eclipse. And this is the first one now where we're having the lunar eclipse, and then we're going to have the solar eclipse 2 weeks after. So the difference with this is it can be a little bit more challenging, and I'll tell you why. Because when we have the solar eclipse first, the solar eclipse brings to light the challenge, the problem in the external world. Okay, so it's something that we're sort of seeing that we might need to work through in the challenge. And then we have 2 weeks later the lunar eclipse, and what the lunar eclipse does is it helps kind of bring a culmination to that problem. So it's like we kind of find a sort of answer to whatever it is that we're needing to wrap up or change and let go of. And so there's no kind of shock or surprises. There's just kind of working through it. Now we're having the lunar eclipse first. This is something that we're going to feel more internally first. So it's a bit like an example, say, just a silly example. So let's say you buy, you've got a washing machine, right? And it's broken down. And now you're in a state and in a stress because you're like, how am I going to wash my clothes? I need to buy a new washing machine. So you look for one, and you see one that looks really pleasing to the eye. It looks, all high-tech and modern and look lovely in your kitchen. So you get this washing machine, And you kind of feel like a relief because now you've had to go through the whole process of working out a way how you can now manage to wash your clothes without your washing machine, and what you're going to do, and having to buy a new one. And now you get this washing machine and it's great, and you've got it, and then you realize that actually it doesn't have all the functions that it would normally have, that I usually use. This isn't no good to me. Like I can't keep this. I'm gonna have to send it back. So now what you're having to do is you're now having to realize that you've ordered something and you've chosen something because it looks pleasing to the eye, but you've not actually thought about the practicality. You've not thought about whether it's right for you or not. And so now, after the breakdown and having to think about how you're going to manage your clothes, to then having to buy a new one, now you're facing a bigger problem where you've now got a new one, and now you've got to send it back. So what you think may have you solved an issue, the solar eclipse after 2 weeks of this lunar eclipse is gonna possibly could show you another problem, another challenge that you wasn't really foreseeing. Okay, so you may be having certain emotions, certain things come up, and then the solar eclipse hits and you're like, yeah, I didn't really see that coming, and now I've got to change it. But there's always a bigger picture. Okay, so again, going with this washing machine analogy, you've got the washing machine, and now you're having to think, is this something that always happens? I always seem to do this. I always buy things because it looks good, but I don't think beyond that. Okay, so like I'll buy a car, and then only after having the car I realize, oh crap, this is costing me a fortune. It's a lot of money in petrol. The insurance is really high on it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sustain this. And so that's kind of the story of your life, and you realize, okay, so why do I do this? What's going on here? So that's kind of how eclipses play out. They bring out the shadow parts. And eclipse in Latin means to abandon or to go missing. And so there's something that gets eclipsed out. So if there was, it's not like a normal transit eclipses. Okay, so with a normal transit, we tend to focus on the energy of how to harness it in the most positive way. Eclipses is not so much like that. Eclipses is more about allowing the shadow parts of ourselves to come up, to look at it. So we're not trying to manage in a way and work with the energy as such to harness the positive energy. We're allowing what needs to come up to be seen. And eclipses, the whole point of an eclipse is it overshadows the light to create darkness. It's what's within. It's what's the shadow part of us that we need to look at and we need to see about ourselves. And so this can bring up for you things that maybe you haven't been seeing about yourself, or behaviors, mindsets. Now this is an eclipse in Libra, okay? And Libra is all about partnership, because it's the other. So it's all to do with our partnerships. That can be commitments, legalities, contracts. So all types of partnerships. It can be with a parent, it can be with a lover, it can be with business. Any type of partnerships, relationships that we have with another. And so this could be bringing up something to do with the way you interact with others, a certain particular relationship you have with another. Now, it depends as well where your Libra house falls, because this is going to tell you what kind of area and how it's going to happen. But I will be doing another video for that. So I will be doing another forecast coming up soon, where I will delve into all the signs. So you'll get a bit more of an overview there. But this is going to pertain to relationships and what maybe you need to see about how you show up in relationships, what's working for you, what needs to be left behind, what's going to come up for you now that you've eclipsed out, that you've denied, that you've not wanted to see, that maybe now you need to see. And so, that's the way you would really approach eclipse. Okay, what do I need to see about my shadow side? And remember, we can't truly step into the light without knowing the dark. It's like being outside and seeing your shadow. And if you see your shadow, wherever you move, it will follow you. And it will always be there until you stop, you face it, and you say, I see you, I see you. And you integrate it. And that's what shadow work is. It's integrating the shadow. It's not trying to run away from it or push it away or deny it. It's saying, I see you. I want to understand you. And you integrate it. And what happens when you shine a light on the shadow? It disappears. It's gone. And so that's what you want to use the eclipse for. So whenever eclipse is coming up, think of it as a time of, okay, what do I need to see about myself? What can I integrate? And don't be afraid as well, because not all eclipses are going to affect you in a big way. It can be something as small as the washing machine, right? That it's something that is quite small, that's fixable. It's not gonna, you're not gonna lose sleep over it, but it does show you the bigger picture of something else that you need to see. And that might be that maybe you don't pay enough attention to what you need, and it's more about how something looks or how something makes you feel. And then you kind of realize afterwards, oh crap, I didn't think about that. I didn't follow through properly. Where's that coming from? Where did that manifest? How did that start to play out? And so that's the sort of thing you need to look at. Now, I just want to say that if you are someone who would get really anxious over something like that, ordering the wrong washing machine, or or it breaking down, and some people do, and there's very good reason why people do get this angst and anxiety over things like this. It's it means that there is something much bigger going on for you. And so what is it about making the wrong choice? What is it about things not working out that puts you in this state of anxiety? Check that out. Look at it. What's happening for you? What's caused you to feel that way? Again, bigger picture. So there's always something we can look. And if you think of the darkness, if you think of sleep, right? When we sleep, it's dark. That's the general sort of way it works. But it's a time for introspection. It's a time for quiet. It's very quiet. When you think of the dark, when you think of the night, it's quiet. It's peaceful. It's introspective. And so that's what the eclipse is about. It's being more introspective. It's being more the observer, observing yourself in the darkness. And if you have watched my last video on the new moon in Pisces, be the observer. That's what it's really about. That was this new moon is the portal to this. It's about preparing us to be the observer. Really not just observe outside of ourselves, but inwardly as well, which is what the lunar eclipse is about. So again, it's like our perception and our perspective of things as well. And that could be something that needs to change. It's not always something tangibly outside of ourselves. It can just be the way we're looking at something. So for an example, you can have two men who say want to ask a woman out on a date, and one will be sitting there saying, I don't know, what if she says no? What if she doesn't like me that way? What if I ruin the friendship that we might have? And what if she rejects me? I'm going to feel like an idiot. I'm going to feel abandoned. I'm going to not feel good enough, and it's not worth it, and I'm just going to not do anything. And then you've got the other man who's sitting there going, you know what, we get on really, really well. I think this could be a really good thing. And I'm going to ask her out. I think it'd be good. And it'd be good to know if she feels the same way. All right. What's the worst that's going to happen? She's going to say, no, well, at least I know where I stand, and we can still have a friendship. Now, that guy he sees the benefit of moving forward and asking her out. The other guy, he only sees the limitation of what could happen. And so you can see how just the perspective can completely change your reality and how you're stepping forward. And so sometimes it is as simple as mindset, and we don't always think that. We always seem to think outside of ourselves. We always think of external things that are affecting our reality, but it's actually our perspective that is affecting the way we are feeling and how we're moving forward. So something to just think about in this eclipse. But yeah, so this is just a brief overview, just so that you can prepare, so you kind of know what's coming up with this energy, what you need to be doing. And in my next video, I will do a forecast into all signs, so you'll just get a little bit more of an idea of how this is playing out for you. But I mean, just quickly, and I will go into aspects that this eclipse is going to be having at the time. But Jupiter and Venus, they're going to be sextiling, okay, on this at the time of this eclipse. Now, they're two great benefics, okay? Everyone, loves a good kind of Jupiter-Venus aspect. Yeah, so a sextile, right? So sextiles is like Venus. It's got the Venus energy. It can be very sweet and bring good things if only you're willing to work hard and have persistence, okay? So there's something about this eclipse that can be very bittersweet, like you can see how letting go of something can work, but it's just doing it. It's just kind of coming to terms with knowing that you're going to do it, and you've got to leave it behind. And the other thing is with this sextile as well, is because the reason why I'm mentioning this sextile too is because the eclipse is in Libra. And whenever you have an eclipse, you always look at the co-ruler. So, who's the ruler of this eclipse? Libra is ruled by Venus. So you look where Venus is. What's Venus doing? Where is she? And she's in, currently, she will be as well in Pisces at this eclipse. And she's sextiling Jupiter, and Jupiter is in Taurus. And so this is what you would call a mutual reception. So Venus is currently in Jupiter's house, and Jupiter is residing in Venus's house, because Venus rules Taurus and Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces. And so they're at mutual reception, which is a good thing, okay, because it means they're getting on. So it's a bit like you and your friend swapping houses, apartments, for a week, and you're saying, Jupiter's saying to Venus, right, well, while you're in my house, you need to take more care of how you are in my house, and you're more spiritual being, because Jupiter's all about your spiritual self. And you need to take care of that, and look at the bigger picture of things and connect with yourself in that way. And Venus is saying, well, while you're in my house, you need to take care of my things. You need to treat everything with care and love and kindness. It's very Venusian. And so they're like, right, yeah, okay, like, and because you're in each other's houses, you're not going to want to piss the other one off because they're in your house, right? So, you don't want them to do anything. And so, you respect each other's rules, and they're in mutual reception, which means that it's always much more benefic. It's more of a benefic energy. And so that is good. So I can see this being a very bittersweet time where, yes, there's things that maybe come up that and hopefully if you have been, working with the energy of the new moon, you've been starting to see maybe certain things that you need to leave behind. And again with Libra, because this eclipse is in Libra, it's about not just transforming self, but transforming relationships. You know, are we transforming together in this relationship? Or is it something that I now need to leave behind? Is this person changing with me? Are we seeing things the same way? Are we wanting the same thing? Do we have the same values at this time? And if not, then maybe I need to step away. And there's a kind of bittersweetness to that. But the way one thing I will just leave you with, the way I see eclipses, right, is I think of them like the outer planets. So Uranus, Pluto and Neptune. An eclipse is like Uranus because it's unpredictable. Okay, around eclipse time, it is unpredictable. Anything can happen, anything goes. And Pluto is transformative. You know, it transforms anywhere it is and whatever it touches. And that's what eclipses are. It's there to transform, to change, to grow. And Neptune, well, Neptune's just goddamn confusing, right? That's what eclipses do. They confuse you. There's a shadow cast. You know, you're not necessarily seeing things the same way you normally do, and you're confused and you're thinking, I don't know, like why am I feeling this? Why am I seeing this maybe differently? Why, you know, what am I not understanding? What do I need to understand? And so with Neptune, that confusion, but also that compassion and that empathy and understanding and that unconditional love that you need to give yourself at this time to see the bigger picture, to integrate that shadow and to become stronger. And so it's just a little fun way I think of eclipses, you know, like the outer planets, and working with those energies. So I will have more information going into this eclipse in my next video when I go into all the signs, so watch out for that. So until then, take care of yourselves and I wish you so much love.